Hey everyone, my name's Gibson, and this talk is about what we're doing in the Node build working group, where we are today, all the cool stuff we want to do, and most importantly, how you could get involved if you wanted to. So if you have any questions, criticisms, spelling mistakes in the talk, can't understand my accent, any of that, just put a hand up anytime. Start off, my favorite part of the talk, of course, myself. My name's Gibson Fahnestock. I work in IBM in the runtimes Node team. So we ship our own build of Node. We also do a lot of work in the community. In fact, we recently got Node building on ZOS, which you possibly haven't heard of. But if you happen to have a mainframe lying around, then you can actually run Node on it now. We're working on getting that upstreamed into the community. On the community side, I'm a collaborator, and I'm in several of the Node working groups and teams. So if you don't know what a Node working group is, it's kind of like a task force, which focuses on key areas. So build, which is on infrastructure, release, which is on making Node actually getting Node into your hands in a not broken state, moderation, SitGem, a bunch of others. So if you have any questions about any of these or any of the Node core things, feel free to come find me afterwards online, in real life, if you want. So, the talk is split into 3 easy to digest sections. First one, the road so far, like what we do today and how we got here. The second one is where we're going, so all the cool things that we'd like to be able to do. And the last is how you can get involved. DevOps can seem quite difficult to get started with. Working with loads of different platforms and architectures you, again, might never have tried before. But it's actually much easier than you think. Unless you already think it's easy, in which case, I guess, insult me on Twitter. I thought I'd make it slightly easier by just including Twitter templates for easy use online. So this gang is the current membership of the build working group. And you'll see, hopefully you'll recognize some of these guys around today. So there are 2 different groups of people in here. The first is the old timers. And these guys have been around for ages. A lot of them helped set up the original build working group and all the infrastructure. And they know exactly how it works, and they can just get in the machines and kind of like wrestle with it and get things to work. The second group is the newer members. So everyone in blue here joined the team in the last year. I mean, personally, I've barely worked out where half the machines are, let alone, how to actually fix things. So a key part of what we're trying to do here is to make it easier for people to get involved and to make it so you don't have to have years of experience and be some sort of DevOps genius to actually get things to work. So, the mission. The mission is to give the rest of the Node Foundation everything they need to do all the cool stuff they do, to ship Node, to ship all the other projects. It's kind of like Q Branch in James Bond, in a Bond movie. Like, we give you the cool gadgets, and then you go out and save the world. So we provide all the infrastructure which Node Core and all the other top-level projects like Nodejsorg, LLNode, libuv, used to build, test, benchmark, and actually release on all our different platforms. And of course, we also host Nodejsorg, which some of you have hopefully used. It's got all the Node binaries on it and possibly some docs. I don't know. I hear tell that that's the case. So the Node Foundation is big. In GitHub, we have 570 people and over 100 core collaborators. And so with this kind of size of people and spread across every conceivable time zone, and with no 24/7 team on support, actually making sure the machines are still running all the time is pretty difficult. And so part of this is about how we structure our open source build farm so that it actually works, especially when we're asleep, because no one wants to be woken up in the middle of the night because something's broken. So, before we go any further, these are the amazing sponsors who donate all of the infrastructure we use for Node. So every build of Node is built, tested, run on hardware donated by all these guys. So just quickly, quick thank you to everyone who helps make Node run everywhere. And also, we also have a bunch of Raspberry Pis that are donated by individual community members. So it's kind of nice to know that if you are willing to cough up for a Raspberry Pi, you too could have one of these, which are kept in Rod's basement. And they're all individually named, so we know who donated what. So our sponsors and all the machines we get allow us to get a pretty impressive platform coverage. So we have over 165 build machines, and we cover about 44 platforms. So every single build of Node is tested on this many platforms. Of course, it looks a lot better when some of the builds are actually green. Which is reasonably often. So another thing is ease of use. So when a new collaborator gets added to the Node project, they maybe started contributing 3-4 weeks before. And if you raise PRs and you help out, then we quickly make you a collaborator. And so we try to make it as easy as possible to get started. So when you start, all you need to know is you go to a URL, you see this form, you fill it in, it's pretty straightforward, you click build, and that's it. However, if you want to go and get involved and understand how all the jobs work and run individual jobs and do crazy stuff, you can do that as well. So you get the easy overview, but you can dive into the details if you need. That's one of the nice things about Jenkins. So what do we use to actually do this stuff? There are 3 main things we rely on. The first is Jenkins. And to be honest, this Jenkins logo is kind of a bit boring, But fortunately, Jenkins have a whole variety of logos for every possible situation. For example, scary Jenkins, even more scary Jenkins, cute Jenkins, but come on, we're changing the world here, so, Ninja Jenkins, that's kind of getting there. And they even have Japanese superhero Jenkins, and I think that is the best possible logo. So, we use Jenkins. We also use cloud provisioning, things like OpenStack, which a lot of, again, our providers offer something similar. So you can just instantly and automatically spin up a machine when you need a new one without having to, raise a ticket and wait 2 days for someone to build you your machine. It's just there. And then we use Ansible, once we have that machine, to put all the stuff on it just the way we like. So, first part of that is Jenkins. I'm just going to leave that logo there because it's kind of cool. So if you maintain an open source project, you probably use Travis, and Travis is great, okay? But sometimes you need to cover more platforms, or you need more manual control, or you want a wider range of machines. So sometimes the sort of raw power of Jenkins and all the Java heap space errors that you get about every 2 days mean that you can no longer stick with something like Travis. We actually have 2 Jenkins instances. The first is the public one, which you can go check out. Anyone can have a look at and see what we build and how we build it. And the other is the private one where we do all the top secret stuff. And of course, UI, most important thing is to have a distinctive theme and have the Node logo in the corner, so no expense was spared there. So teams. As I said, we have a lot of teams, and they all have access to different jobs. And keeping 2 lists updated is probably one of the most painful things in an open source project. The number of PRs that are like, yep, this list was true 4 years ago, but no one's touched it since. It's kind of endless. So we just use GitHub directly. You can set up so every job controls which teams have what access. Some have build, some have configure, some can actually delete the job. But we prefer not to have too many teams able to delete jobs because that ends badly. Another thing we need to do is to keep our builds fast. So if we're running 45 builds for each PR, you're getting 30 to 50 PRs a day. That's 2,000 builds a day and tests of Node. And so when you're doing that many builds, it's really important to make them fast. And there's another problem, of course. If one machine goes down and you don't have a backup, everything blocks up and nothing can land. And of course, that leads to complaints. So one thing that really makes a difference is just to cache everything you can. So So you cache your downloads, you cache your Git clones, and you can even cache your build results. There's this tool called CC-cache, or maybe C-cache. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. C-compiler cache. Anyway, and what it does is it caches the intermediate results of your compilation. So if you only change 1% of your C++ source, it only recompiles that small part and the rest is saved. And that makes things a lot quicker. So the other thing we do is fanning, because computers get hot too. So fanning is when you split out a build and a test into a bunch of different machines, right? Because your fastest platforms, so we have, I think the fastest one we have is a Linux OneBox. That can build and test Node in 2.5 minutes. And that's great, You're like, brilliant, it's finished so quickly, the linting hasn't even finished yet, and we've already done, so we'll just give up, right? But your first generation Raspberry Pi takes slightly longer than the mainframe. So Raspberry Pis are cheap, though, so you can buy lots. And here you can see we have 8, can't count. 8 different Pis running subsets of the tests. And those 8 Pis add up to one of our faster machines. So that kind of works out. And Pis are cheap, and Rod's basement has plenty of room, so we just buy more. So we don't just want to make it easy for collaborators. We want to make it easy for build members. We want to make it easy to join the team and get up to speed. So one of the good ways of doing this is with infrastructure as code. And infrastructure as code is a long way of saying, take all the scripts you use to set up your machine. Maybe you have bash scripts at home that run like brew install this or apt-get install that, and have a proper system for saving it. And so Ansible is kind of like that, but much, much more complicated and featured. And the other great thing about this is because this is in GitHub, if anyone else wants to set up a machine to build, test, or run Node, you can go take our scripts, create a VM, run them, and you have the full functionality exactly the way we do it. In fact, internally in IBM, when we build Node, we're working on just taking the community one and using that. And that means that people can contribute to it and improve it and keep it up to date. So, second part, the quest. I think the key thing we're trying to do is to make build more accessible. In the past, it's been very difficult to understand what even happens inside build, and especially to contribute to it. People just say, I don't have time, I don't have hours to spend understanding this infrastructure. So if we can reduce the barrier to entry, we can increase the pool of people who can actually fix issues and get involved. So this is the job that builds Node releases. I'll give you time to read through it. I know it's a bit small. So trying to edit this file is kind of like coding in the dark, and you're lost, and you don't have a computer. It's just basically impossible to work out what's going on. And because the job just goes on and on and on, it doesn't even fit on one slide at that resolution. And all this is saved in a giant XML file that no one can read, and definitely no one can edit on Jenkins itself. And no one sees it. Very few people have access. It's a nightmare. If you have code that people can't see and it's not in Git, it doesn't have pull requests, it rots. So fortunately, the nice people at Jenkins are aware this is a problem. And so they've come up with a solution, which is called a pipeline. So your Jenkins file, as it's known, is a pipeline which is basically a script that has all that same information, but it's just a Groovy script. And you can put that in the root directory of your GitHub project, and it will just build automatically. You create the job, it pulls it in, it does everything. It's kind of like a Travis YAML file, but on steroids. Like you can control every single step of what happens. So this is great, and it means that anyone can easily edit the jobs. So you can see what we do, and you can just create PRs to it if you want, instead of the sort of closed-off thing where very few people have edit access. So as an example of why visibility is important, this is something that I came across in that file last week. So can you spot the issue with this code? I guess better question is, can you actually see this code-ish? Yeah. So give you a hint. This works fine for now, but come next April, it's going to start to have issues. So the reason is, if you're not a bash, whispering quietly. So, put you out of your misery. The reason is, that it takes the very first digit of the Node version, and it assumes that is the major version of Node. And that works great for 1 through 9, but then you get to 10, and yeah, everything falls apart. And so the point here isn't don't make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. There's bugs everywhere, you know. But if enough people see it, what's the phrase? With enough eyeballs, all bugs are shallow. And also, more to the point, there's no Git blame. It's not in Git, so I can't even find out who did it and then go and sort of laugh at them on stage. Pipelines, great idea. Problem is, currently in Node build, we have loads of people who know how the current system works. We don't have a lot of people who've actually tried out this new next sort of phase of Jenkins. So that's an issue with the current team. We're trying to work on it, but if you already know how pipelines work, or you want to know how pipelines work, and you maybe use Jenkins yourself, come get involved. And in fact, shout out to John Moss, who magically, amazingly just showed up on our GitHub repo. I don't know how it happens, but he just, about 2 days after we said, this pipeline thing sounds kind of interesting, we should take a look at it. He just raised this issue saying, hey guys, you should use pipelines. I can help out. I was, okay, thank you. Please, sure. Yeah. So if you have any interest in that, do come talk to us. So imagine you're a Node collaborator like Brian, and you run your CI, and you're just trying to test your pull request, and you hit this bug. What would you do? So you probably swear angrily to yourself, maybe tweet. And then if you really were an experienced systems programmer who thought, yeah, I know what that is, I can go fix that, you'd sort of SSH into the machine and just kind of do stuff until it magically fixed itself, right? That's the professional way. Problem is, if I did that, I'd probably just destroy the machine, which doesn't end well. So how can we make this better for people who don't already know everything about build, which is most people? So our Ansible scripts, especially when you have them run through a graphical interface, so you just have a nice button that says, fix machine. You can tear down the machine, give you a new one, put all the stuff on it. It's exactly a pristine new thing. And that fixes so many bugs. That fixes there were permission errors, or someone left files lying around on the machine and now it doesn't work anymore, or someone's CI, left 400 processes running on the machine and now it's complaining. You can simplify most of those things to start again. So that's one of the things that we'd really like to be able to do, and that way we could give more people, and maybe all the collaborators even, the ability to do more of these kind of maintenance jobs. But it's not all sort of infrastructure. We do other things besides managing machines. And one of the things we want to do is to have a nice sponsors page. So currently, the sponsors are acknowledged on the build working group README. And that's pretty great. It's a great honor to be in the build README. But how many people here have actually seen the sponsors section of the build working group README? Half? Yeah. How many people have been to Nodejs.org? Somewhat more than half. Not as many as I expected, but fine. And this is something where, a front-end developer could knock something out really nicely in 5-10 minutes, whereas I would flail around for half an hour and make something just atrocious. So yeah, hey, if you have 10 minutes and you want to make a cool part of the Node.js website, go check out that issue. So this is an example of another project. Any excuse to get IBM on the slide. But this is another example of someone who has a nice sponsors page on their website, and it looks really professional. So that's the kind of thing that we'd like. Also, if you haven't tried Firefox, the new Firefox, it's pretty impressive. You should check it out. I don't work for Mozilla, by the way. So to wrap it up, there are a whole load of things we're looking at doing today that will help us really take our infrastructure from pretty nice to next level, self-managing kind of cool. And if you have any interest in any of these things or anything else, and you just want to help out, come get involved. Raise an issue, ping me, come talk to me, whatever you want. That's me. Thank you. Any questions? Sweet. How long should they take? Yeah, so I would like it to be 5 minutes, but I think realistically, we can't only run on like really high performance platforms, so it's probably going to be half an hour is a good maximum, right? But it shouldn't always be half an hour. Yeah, so the problem tends to be that one of the machines has suffered a slight issue, and the person who knows how to fix it is asleep because you're in the wrong time zone, and so you have to wait for that person to wake up, go check GitHub, and then fix that machine. And as I said, the job will just hang until it comes online. And so when you've got, what was it, 14, 15 different options, they've all got to run before the job finishes. So yeah, when it works well, it's really smooth. Doesn't always work well. It exists if you are willing to use Ansible and like target the right machine and be sure you're targeting the right machine. You know you've got your SSH config set up correctly and you're not accidentally wiping out all the machines because, yeah, that doesn't go well. If you tell someone you just destroyed the whole build farm. So in theory, yes. In practice, it's more the nice front end to it that we'd really like to have. Cheers.